the American Express card commercials? Big nose Carl Malden. The American Express card. Don't leave home without it. Well, now we got the Trump version. We've got the $5 million American Gold Card. Don't leave your country without it. Don't leave. I think that even a Russian oligarch, an oligarch. I actually know some oligarchs that are pretty friendly people. I think they could come in. I do. Think they could come in. Greetings to you, Crusaders across the amber waves of MAGA. The Mike Church Show is on. We are live, asking the question of the day.
What in the wide, wide world of sports is going on here?
Well, I'll tell you. Let's get this show on the road.
In order to
on
ensure
the
security
road.
and continuing stability, the Republic will be reorganized into the first galactic empire.
No, you can't.
For a safe and
We're not gonna let you.
society.
So I'm calling on Congress to pass these reforms, and I'm going to sign them into law.
You call down the thunder, well now you got it.
You tell them I'm coming, and hell's coming with me, you hear? Hell's coming with me!
Alrighty, our call-in line telephone number if you'd like to be on the program today, 844-527-8723, 844-5-CRUSADE. Email address, same as it ever has been. I am King Dude at Proton, King Dude at MikeChurch.com. Nobody used the email address. I simplified it, and nobody used it. Why is that? King Dude at MikeChurch.com. Crusader Stadium chat room is open and already popping with 35 souls in there chatting it up at CrusadeChannel.com/chat. Welcoming all of you listening and watching on the Crusade Radio Network, including 990 AM WGSO and New Orleans, and on the YouTube and on X.com and on Rumble and across the Crusade Radio Network. Big day today. Big day, and lots to talk about here today. Well, yeah, pretty much there's lots to talk about every day. Here's where I want to start the program today. I want to ask all of you a question. I shall patiently await the answer. And then we shall expound upon the query. Here's the question. Do you think America is in a recession? I know this comes out of the blue and people are going like, better turn play, you're panicking me. Why will you ask the question? Do you think America's in a recession? Now, I don't mean one that's defined by however these Nimrods defined it by quarter over quarter of negative economic growth or whatever. I'm not talking about that measure. I just mean in general, do you think that there is a recession? You see, look at all the responses immediately. What are they saying in the YouTube, Maggie? Da Fender, yes. Will Nell, 71, yes. BK Michigan, yes. Bert Starr, yes. Over on the YouTube chat, what do you guys think on Rumble? Here's the reason I asked the question, and I believe I have the answer and some words of encouragement. I asked the question because people keep asking me. I went to the post office yesterday, the United States Postal Service, because I am the delivery boy. Maggie packs boxes everything up. The mail dude doesn't come to here because we're in a residential area. So I literally play Santa with his peddler's pack and haul sacks, mail pouch sacks filled with Joe boxes to the little post office down the street in Madisonville. which is about to actually enjoy it. It's a little 10-minute ride. I go through a little beautiful downtown Madisonville, Louisiana. By the way, our P.O. box is always open for you if you want to send $50,000 like Michael Rose mistakenly did. Because I go there and check it every day. P.O. Box 400, Madisonville, Louisiana 70447. So I know all the 3 people that work at the post office by name now, and they know me. So it's Willie or William, who is I guess he's, you would call him the postmaster general, but it's such a small post office. Then there's Bobby or Robert, and then there's Miss Donna. So it doesn't matter. They could have 40 people in line at that little post office shipping boxes. If they see me standing all the way outside the door with a bag, they're good people. They come and they open the door for me. And I found out why. Joe Beeman, you can relate to this. They tell me, it's like, Mike, Mr. Church, thank you for bringing your boxes here so that we get to scan them because we get credit for it. Our little post office, to stay open, has to have a certain amount of boxes that pass through here, and we got to scan them. So, we're always thankful for our business customers who come in, who go out of their way and come here and drop them off. So, they treat us. And there's another lady that I see pretty much every other day, and she drops she'll bring a whole bag in, and she's shipping the exact same thing in a prepackaged flat box. They're all the same, I guess what I'm getting at. She has these boxes made. So probably for the 3rd time in this month of February, William has asked me if I'm busy. So yesterday when he asked me, he goes, "Hey, man, how's it going? Mr. Church, how you doing? You busy?" And I went, I gave him the Trump to Macron. I don't know. And I said, why? You've been asking me this now. Why? Are you guys slow? And he goes, slow as we've ever been. I said, really? And he said, yes, which is why we're happy to see you when you come in the door. I said, it's that noticeable. And he goes, I don't know what's going on, but not a lot of shipping going on. And then he goes like, because there was no one else in there. He goes, why do you think that is? And I said, well, here, I'm going to tell you something else. I talked to someone else yesterday, and I'm not going to tell you who it was. And you, most of you know him. In any event, I asked him, how's it going? He goes, King, dude, worst since I started this business. I said, really? He said, 2 months of
0.0
business income. And we get out of here. He goes, true story. 2 months. And then I said, why do you think that is? And he goes, man, if I had the answer, I'd fix it. And he goes, he goes, asked me how it was going. I said, we're like everyone else. We're struggling, but we're getting by. And I said, he asked me, why do you think that is? Okay, so this is my theory of why I think this is happening. This is the new kid on the block, wait and see period. And it may last for a year. May last for a year and a half. This is people, even MAGA people are going like, okay, I see what you're doing. I hear all about the Doge. I hear the leftards are literally wailing in the streets that it's the end of days. We're all going to die. The kids are going to starve to death. The tariffs, the Wall Street Journal and the libertarians and the neocons all out there screaming that the tariffs are going to put everyone out of business, and Michigan and other Rust Belt states are going to go under, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. This is a period where I think people are just kind of sitting on whatever it is that they have. Because the future seemingly is unknown. It's uncertain. And when things are uncertain, you tend to keep what you have and what you can rely on, which is your money, close to your vest. So I think that is, and that's a natural thing that's happening there. Let me give you the kicker, though. So what you're seeing is kind of foreign to you. What you're hearing and what you're seeing, Doge and Trump and the Trump administration, which, by the way, is affecting policy everywhere. You hear Governor DeSantis talking about things you never heard Governor DeSantis talking about, bringing it into property taxes and what have you. I've been talking about my governor, Louisiana Governor Jeff Landry, and how things are changing here. Governor Abbott is singing a different tune. Vivek Magaswamy, who would have thought, who had Vivek Magaswamy running for governor of Ohio on their bingo card 1 year ago today. And by the way, of course, he would still have been in the primaries. By the way, don't forget, there's a lot of people that are like writing Vivek off. Don't forget, he's a good campaigner. That dude can talk to a wall for an hour and make the wall laugh. So I don't know who the GOP or who he would be up against. I think he would just mop the floor with Mike DeWine, because Mike DeWine is a moron. Mike drank the wine is an idiot. Vivek will slaughter him in a debate. Won't even be close. In any event, here is the upshot of what I think is going on. And by the way, I do not think we are in a recession. My answer is no. I think we're in a holding pattern, which is different. And I don't believe that. Look, energy prices are going to go down. Some of the inflation is going to be put at bay. You can't do it all at once, and you're not going to see it immediately. The thing that would really drive it, though, got a setback yesterday with the passage of the one big, beautiful bill, which is going to add $2.25 trillion of deficit, of debt spending. Got to raise the debt ceiling by $3 trillion to accommodate this turkey. That's not progress, and that's not acceptable. So somewhere there's a disconnect somewhere betwixt cutting the size of government and balancing a budget, which President Trump said he was going to do. You're not going to do it with that spending bill. And this nonsense about we're going to take this out over 10 years. You can't bind a future Congress. Everybody knows this. Here's why we're not in a recession, but here is what's going on. There's a paradigm shift. This is a paradigm shift. It's about as serious a paradigm shift as any of us have ever seen, because we've never actually seen one. They pulled a paradigm shift on us in the 60s and 70s and didn't ask us. They just did it. You went from Leaving the Beaver and the Andy Griffith Show to half-naked people aborting babies on primetime TV in a span of 10 years. You went from Andy Griffith talking to Opie about the fishing hole and about why he couldn't secretly record a guy in his jail cell because it's against the Fourth Amendment, to Rob Meathead Reiner lecturing Carol O'Connor as Archie Bunker on the merits of doing exactly that. Remember that clip we played from Archie Bunker with Archie telling, now you listen here, little girl, you're not moving out there to California, the land of fruits and nuts. There's a paradigm shift. This is an article from February the 20th. Life punishes the late, adapt or die. Dude's name is Gary Lynch. It's in Rod Dreher's piece from 2 days ago. Now, this guy's a leftard, but I think he's got this right. So, I think this is actually this should console you. This stuff is going to work itself out. All of the court cases, or almost all of them, are going to be decided in favor of the Trump administration. He's not going to lose the question of executive authority or executive privilege. The world is going to rejoice when, in the next week or so, maybe, it is announced that the Ukrainian war against the Russians, yes, I said Ukrainian war against the Russians, that the Ukrainian war against the Russians is going to come to an end. By the way, the deal's done. The mineral rights deal is done. That was one of the hang-ups. So Zelensky's actually going to come here on Friday and meet with Trump and actually sign the treaty or sign the agreement. I don't know if it's an agreement or if it's a treaty, then the Senate would have to ratify it. If it's just an agreement, then Trump can sign it. This is then going to bring President Putin and the Russians back to the table to negotiate the final part of this. The world's going to rejoice and should when the killing in Ukraine/Russia stops. So that is going to happen. And that, look, when you take plowshares and you beat them into swords, no one benefits. The world does not benefit from war, despite what the neocons, the Decepticons, tell you. It's not a good policy. Nobody wins. And I think everyone loses. Sometimes you have to fight one. I'm not saying that you don't. And in this instance, the world has a stake, and that's going to be brought to a close. And then those things that are being plowed into war can now be plowed into making golf cart manufacturing plants in Tennessee or wherever. Gary Lynch. Listen to this. This dude has this nailed, I think. On October 7, 1989, Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev visited East Berlin to help the incompetent geriatrics who ran the misnamed German Democratic Republic celebrate the 40th anniversary of their state. Although he was the leader of what was supposed to be their closest ally, East German security forces blocked streets to prevent their citizens from greeting the world's most senior communist. Only vetted members of front organizations on planned demonstrations were allowed near his cavalcade. Extra barricades were erected at Checkpoint Charlie, and day trippers from West Berlin, normally welcomed for the hard Deutschmarks they spent in Eastern shops and cafes, were turned away. Nonetheless, a few East Berliners managed to find their way to vantage points overlooking the route, shouting, "Gorby, help us!" In front of the world's cameras, in private, away from the media, Gorbachev warned Erich Honecker and his colleagues in the SED ruling party, bitter opponents of his economic and political liberalization, that the USSR would not intervene to preserve their rule if their own people turned against them. So he's kind of setting this thing up for of course, you're going to try to explain Trump and you're a lib. You got to bring the communists and the Stasi and Stalin and Hitler and the Nazis in. Let's skip down further down the page. 2025, the end of an era. Now, again, I don't agree with this guy, but I think that he's identified what's happening and why you think it's a recession. It's not a recession. It's a paradigm shift. Donald Trump is undoubtedly unhinged. He may very well end up being unpopular among Americans, although I wouldn't automatically assume that will happen, as he is doing what he was elected to do, and his domestic agenda is quite popular with Americans, even as his foreign agenda is despised. Even if he ends up hated, however, it will be impossible to put what he has dismantled back together again. Well, you know, for that, yeah. From the start, Trump-supporting intellectuals understood they might only have 2 years in control of a rare quadrifecta of the presidency, both houses of Congress and the Supreme Court, plus the presidency. That's 4. Hence, they are moving quickly to make changes that will not easily be reversed, as is evident from the speed with which the Trumpites are setting out to rip up not only government diversity initiatives, but those in business and education. This isn't just a matter of political programs or structures of governance. Trump is setting out to rip up a paradigm, an unspoken set of shared assumptions about how the world works, and one that was already in serious trouble worldwide, as his first election win showed. The progressive vision of how to make a better world emerged in the 1960s in the richest Western countries out of an older and more collectivist progressive paradigm, and came to global predominance in the 1990s. It is now being ended intentionally. And again, rejoice for that. The paradigm. Now listen to this. This is probably the last paragraph I'll share, because this guy's going to wander off now and to Fantasy Island and a little trip down memory lane on the way. The paradigm was born. He's right about this, though. The paradigm was born among utopian visions of remaking the world through self-realization and individual liberation in the late 1960s. When utopia proved elusive, it was the individualist that survived, morphing into credit card consumerism in the 1980s. The naked materialism of boomer consumer capitalism sat, once one thinks about it, surprisingly comfortably with the naked materialism of the song that encapsulated the vision the post-1960s progressives longed for. All right, all of you listening right now, guess what the song was? Just take a guess. What song encapsulated the left-tard, pinko, commie, America-hating, Christendom-despising worldview? Guess. Let me wander back into the chat room and see if anybody gets this. Don't overthink it. It's sitting right there in front of you. This is not difficult. As a matter of fact, when I read this piece this morning, before I got to the line, I knew what song he was talking about. Juliet Bravo for the win. Exactly. John Lennon's Imagine. The worst song ever written in the history of man. John Lennon's Imagine. A world without borders, gods, or even much in the way of beliefs, where there was nothing to kill or die for, just an eternity of stoned sex. It was never explained who would collect the bins or fix the drains. It's of note that John Lennon's Imagine wasn't written at the counterculture's height, when many youths briefly did believe they could build a utopia, but in 1971, after the Manson family and Altamont, when reality was reasserting itself, the wistful longing for a vision of the future everybody knew was a fantasy made it the perfect soundtrack for the crassy materialist consumerism that would actually define the lives of the Chirins of 1968. All right, I think I got enough for Gary Lynch here. But he's right. There's a paradigm shift. You're shifting away from John Lennon's Imagine to Lee Greenwood's I'm Proud to Be American. Now, question. Would you take Greenwood over Lennon? I think most people would say, yeah, I'm going to take Lee Greenwood over John Lennon. Well, this has to work itself out. And it's not happening. It's not going to happen fast here, folks. Look, I'll continue this when we come back. Don't go away. Fastest 3 hours in all of radio, spinning the greatest bumper music from the comeback decade that was the 1980s. Mike Churchill and the Crusade Radio Network on a Wednesday. Hey, Wisdom Wednesday today is also, you know what day it is. Oh, come on, Julie, I know you can hear me. Mike. Yep, it's hump day. Did I hear that it's National Lead by Example Day? Well, here's a question for the red, white, and dude and Crusader nations out there. Who are you going to follow? If it's National Lead by Example Day, that implies then there must be people that follow. So who you following? I'm just asking. Call in line telephone number is 844-527-8723, 844-5-CRUSADE. This portion of the program brought to you by MyPillow.com/King Dude.
Uh-oh. Guess what day it is? Guess what day it is? Huh? Anybody? Julie, hey, guess what day it is? Oh, come on, I know you can hear me. Mike. What day is it, Mike?
Mike.
Leslie, guess what today is?
It's hump day.
Woo-hoo!
Woo-hoo! It's hump day. Going back to what we were talking about a moment ago here, and I was asking the question if you're just joining us, and I'm sure many of you are, welcome aboard. There's a super chat challenge going on the YouTube chat today. What'd you say, $5? $2 or more. You got to set the bar higher than that. It's $5, $2 or more, and we'll do a Q&A session exclusively on the YouTube at the end of the broadcast. Yeah, there's an Oval Office version of It's Hump Day with Trump in there. Okay, let me go back to the question: are we in a recession? My answer is no. We're not in a recession. You're in a paradigm shift. The buzzword of the day should be, the password is accountability. Should be accountability. But now let's just deviate for a second here. And I think that it's perfectly normal for people to go like, okay, I don't know how this whole MAGA thing is going to work out. So I think people are taking a wait and see, that they're going, okay, what's going to rise? Everything that should be up is down. Everything that should be down is up. As Al Gore once famously said, what's going to rise and what's going to fall? When are you going to see the fruits of Apple's $500 billion investment, for example? When is the drill, baby, drill? When is the price of gasoline going to go back down below $2 a barrel, a gallon? By the way, that directly affects your electric bill. Price of petroleum goes up, electricity goes up. They just track simultaneously. So you want to see that price. What is go to the commodities market. What is a barrel of Texas Intermediate Sweet Crude, I believe as they call it? What did it go for yesterday? I'm just curious here. You start to see the price of $60.89 or $68? $68. Okay. Where you break even before Biden inflation used to be $45 a barrel. So your oil companies don't want it to go below $45 a barrel because they don't make a lot of profit. $68 is in the neighborhood. It's probably going to go down somewhere in the mid-50s. Trump was yesterday. Why did he call the guy out about the Keystone Pipeline? Because he's like, we're going to get the Keystone Pipeline. We're going to get it. It's going to be built. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be flowing big, beautiful oil all the way from Canada down to Corpus Christi, Texas. S. Parker in the chat room at crusadechannel.com/chat says Brent is at 72. Well, they don't have a drill, baby, drill program. So now Brent, right there, that's a $4 a barrel advantage that West Texas Intermediate Crude, which I assume comes from the Permian Basin or from the Gulf of Mexico or from the Bakken, you're at a $4 advantage per barrel already. We're 30 days in. That's significant. You see, they can't change course like we can. Keep an eye on that. But as American petroleum prices go down, so will your electric bills, and that's one thing that can stave off some of the inflation. I want to talk about the Zion King. The Zion King. It was a big victory, the New York Times chortled yesterday. Big victory for Speaker Mike Johnson as the one big beautiful bill cleared Congress. The only voice of reason and sanity in the entire House of Representatives is Thomas Massey. Massey voted no. If I just went to the New York Times website and I just read you what the New York Times says about the one big, beautiful bill that has the Trump agenda in it, which includes, by the way, the extension of the Trump tax cuts. Why do Democrats think anyone is going to buy or buys this ridiculousness that Elon Musk needs a tax cut? There's only 14 billionaires in the world. That's a lot of tax cuts for 14 people. This is the biggest giveaway for billionaires. 14 American. I saw the cover story in the Wall Street Journal today. Now, maybe there's more, but they said there were 14 billionaires, American billionaires. So 14 people get the biggest tax, or the biggest lion's share of a tax. Who believes this nonsense? Here's the New York Times on the big beautiful bill that the House wants. This is last night before it passed. The House wants to pass Trump's agenda in one big bill. Here's what's in it. Last week, President Trump loaded a House budget blueprint that would enable Congress to pass much of his legislative agenda in what he called one big beautiful bill. One big beautiful. It's going to be I'm going to sign that big beautiful bill. That budget, which passed the House on Tuesday and will head to the Senate for approval, lays out targets for legislation that would extend tax cuts and increase the federal deficit. It would also almost certainly make major cuts to programs that serve the poor. Good. Go back to work. Spending cuts are $2 trillion. I'm just reading from the New York Times. I'm not saying that this is accurate. Spending cuts, $2 trillion. Tax cuts and spending increases, $4.8 trillion. This is what Thomas Massey was saying. Thomas Massey was saying they put spending increases in that bill. I'm trying to do my Massey accent. There's spending increase. They're going to blow the deficit up by $395 billion this year. This is on top of what was already baked into the cake. And then the deficit increase. Now, this is just completely unacceptable. The deficit increase is $2.8 trillion, number two. 2.8 trillion? With a T? That's a big, beautiful bill? No, that's a turkey of a bill. By the way, the thing passed 217 to 215. The reason it was a 217 to 215 is two Democrats were out, or three Democrats were out. They just didn't show up to vote. So Johnson lost Massey, but he got, what's her name? The woman from Florida, Sarrazin, whatever the hell her name was. There were three holdouts. There was the guy who got the market reprisal bill, and then the woman. They both were conned, basically, into voting because Trump made phone calls and said, look, what do you want? What do you need? What do you need? What do you want? And apparently they caved in. I was just reading about this earlier. Okay, the guy's name is, Tim Burchett was one of the holdouts. Burchett said in a statement, let's see here, all the Republican holdouts save Massey eventually came on board. Davidson, whose main concern had been ensuring that cuts to discretionary spending are made as part of the likely upcoming stopgap appropriations bill needed by March 14th, said he received assurances that cuts would be part of the deal in future spending bills. Burchett, who spoke to Trump by phone, said the president had asked to give him a starting point on spending cuts and tax policy, and I thought this was it, Burchett said. In a statement posted on X, the social platform once known as Twitter, Spartz, that's Ms., whatever her first name is, Spartz, attributed her reversal to Trump's, this is a quote now, personal commitment to save health care and make it better, close quote. Both in terms of America's physical health and the country's fiscal health, he is the only person who is able to accomplish it, and I trust his words, Spartz wrote. GOP leaders initially tried to work some last-minute magic by holding open an unrelated and non-controversial suspension vote well beyond the allotted 15 minutes to buy time for some additional arm twisting on the floor. Then they jumped over the budget resolution, which was supposed to come to a vote next. There's a bunch of procedural crap in here. Basically, it's business as usual. No Democrats voted for it. The entirety of the Republican caucus, save for the only sane person there, Thomas Massey, voted no. Now, I have to ask the question, how are you going to get to the balanced budget and to start paying the debt down, President Trump, that you said was your goal, that you were going to do by raising the debt limit by $3 trillion. $3 trillion. $3 trillion. I don't understand. I'd like to know what the master plan is. You want to know why people are sitting on their money? Because they're hearing stuff like this. And they're going like, dude, that is baking in $3 trillion in inflation. Looked at another way, you're basically guaranteeing a $3 trillion bump in the money supply. That's how this works. If you don't know, they run a deficit, they got to borrow the money, they don't have it, they print it, they put more money into circulation so the checks don't bounce. It looks like everything is working out. It's not. The dollar you have or the $100 bill you have in your pocket today, when they start, if they pass this thing and the debt continues to go up, the little debt clock thing that Massey has on his lapel will be spinning up. Every time as it's going up, the $100 bill in your pocket, the value of it goes down. That's just how it works, which means you think Eggmageddon is bad now. Well, it's probably going to continue then, even if the egg supply balances itself out. But I don't understand how they expect to get from point A to point B by basically just continuing to do what they've always done. This makes no sense to me, viewed in that context. And I don't think that you could drill your way out of inflation by, let's say you get the price of a barrel of oil down to $45 a barrel, which then many oil companies will just be going like, I don't even want to get it out of the ground now because it's not profitable. Well, let's just say, they're going to be patriotic and for the sake of the American people, that they did it and you got oil down to $45 a barrel. Is the reduction in the price of energy enough to offset the $3 trillion in deficit? I mean, to me, this is just completely and totally fiscally careless. What really pisses me off about this, and I think it ought to bother other MAGA people too, because I'm a MAGA guy. I want to see this work. I want the paradigm shift, which I believe we're in. I want it to be an actual paradigm shift, which means stop running deficits. It's not that hard. If there ever was a point in time when the American citizens out here were ready for a haircut, whatever that might entail, does that mean that Uncle Bobo, who was working for the federal government for 22 years, gets permanently laid off? Sorry. Didn't see that one coming. Does that mean, well, what about the little girl down the street? What about the Medicaid? What about the Dude, there's not much you can do about some of those things. There's a lot you can do about Medicaid. I don't understand why a Republican Congress with a Republican Senate and a Republican president does not see the initiative. The Democrats brought Medicaid into existence in 1966. Why not bring it out of existence? And by the way, and I don't know if you know this. This may be boring as hell to some people, but I'll tell you anyway. Medicaid is a partnership. It's a scam. It's the federal government saying, we think you ought to spend X amount of dollars on poor people's, or allegedly poor. There's no poverty in the United States. When you're talking about starvation or whatever, look around you. Does anyone look like they're starving these days? We have an overabundant supply of fat bastards. Medicaid is basically, it's Congress will go and say, we think that you want to spend X amount of dollars on providing medical services for allegedly poor people in this year. And so we're going to tax you. You're going to send the money to Mordor. We're going to take 30% off the top. That's our cut. And we're going to shower it to all of our buddies and the bureaucracy here. And then we're going to send what remains, we're going to send that back to you And then anything else you want to spend in addition, you have to raise the funds for. Does that sound like a workable system? It sounds stupid to me. Why doesn't the businessman is sitting in the Oval Office, why doesn't he do a primetime address and just say, I think it's time, if you ever had the political capital to do it, it would be now. I think it's time that we have a reevaluate the 1966 War Against Poverty safety net. It doesn't work. It's not made anyone. The war on poverty was lost. I don't know when the white flag of surrender was raised, but it was, but it was raised. Why not take the initiative? Instead, they baked it into the cake again. Why not at least have the conversation that I was talking about and have been talking about for 15 years of sunsetting, getting rid of Social Security for young people? The younger you are, again, you do a grandfathered buyout. If you're born after, before this date, just say 1970, an arbitrary number, then your benefits are solid. You're good to go. For 1980, then we're going to buy you out. We're going to give you a one time, one lump sum payment, and then you're done. And 1990, same deal. And then you graduate the lump sum payments and be done with it. And then the program then only has to serve those that spent their lives believing it was going to be there, invested all their money in it. You have to make good on that promise. But for everyone else, where there's still time, let them out. Let them out. Why isn't this thinking here? If you really want to be radical, what I just said is radical. But is it really? So let's get back to the question that we asked at the beginning of the program. Are we in a recession? And the consensus was that, yes, Mr. King dude, we are in a recession. Well, I don't think we're in a recession. And again, the paradigm shift is here. Why not just shift the paradigm? And maybe it is that, look, we just need to get this part of it done, and then we'll move on to that. Maybe that's what it is, but that's, I believe, why people are sitting on a lot of their money and aren't jumping in. By the way, an executive order was signed yesterday that is, I love the sound. I'm Robert Duvall on Apocalypse Now. I love the sound of chainsaws in the morning. I love the sound of trees going, timber! What did the executive order say? Is there a soundbite on that? On the opening up of the forestry? Yeah, here it is. Digital media file number 1. Now again, where are the young people going to come from? The able-bodied young men that are going to go off into the forest to go work for timber companies to go cut the trees down.
We don't need their lumber. In fact, we're going to be freeing up, and I've asked Howard Lutnick to get that done with Lee and everybody, Lee Zeldin, Environmental. We're freeing up our forests. We're going to be able to take down trees. Right now, we're so restricted environmentally. We're going to be freeing it up with an emergency order. We have an emergency order, and we're going to be freeing up our forests. We have more forests than almost anybody. And great lumber, great trees. We don't need anybody's trees. We don't need trees from Canada or anybody else. In fact, we have to put the slits, as they call them, the area, 50, 60-yard area in between areas of trees. It stops the fires.
Tell California that. I love it. We're making trees great again. We have great trees. Our trees are great. We're going to cut them down. Our trees are great. We're going to cut them down. Okay, you need people then that are going to go off into the forest to go cut the trees down. Where are they going to come from? I think we should play the Mike Rowe clip from yesterday that Katie Beeman put in the Signal chat. Because Mike Rowe was talking about this, a dirty jobs guy. He's with me. I'm with him. I'm like, dude, you got to train an entire generation and a half of young men. You're leaving the water cooler, bro. You are not going to be hanging around the water cooler playing air guitar. That's just... You're not going to be... That's Mayor Dennis of the water cooler. You're the best. Remember the bit from yesterday?
So, Catherine, post more YouTube videos of your baby acting adorable.
Baby, on it.
Matt, ignore me and keep updating your fantasy team. Huh? Jeff, play a game.
Turbo boosting now, sir.
Dennis, check in everywhere you go on Foursquare.
That's Mayor Dennis.
Oh, the water cooler.
You're the best. Liz, rock out to Pandora.
Oh, no, I'm an only child.
And Nick, you shouldn't even be here. You can do everything from the golf course. Good? Good.
Good. Well, where are they going to come from? Somebody's going to say we're going to import it. It's going to be a illegal aliens, King Dude. We're going to do the H-1B1 the visas. We're gonna have all the Mexicans coming or whatever. Are they experiencing the lumber business? Well, there's a show on I want to say it's on the History Channel where they follow a logging crew around. You remember that show? I think we used to watch it with the children once upon a time. That business is rough. People are killed. You think of you're thinking of lumberjacks or whatever, and you think of a Paul Bunyan or some dude running around the forest with an axe. I mean, maybe it was like that once upon a time, but it's not like that at all anymore. These guys are cutting down 7,500 foot tall trees that weigh 8,000 pounds. If it falls in the wrong place and you happen to be occupying the wrong place, then you will just happen to be dead. D-E-D, dead. So, you can pass the executive orders and you can say that things are going to happen here. But again, are the people, this is the paradigm shift that I'm talking about. Are the young men going to respond? And I think that in order to facilitate this, you got to cut them off. You got to get them out of their parents' basement. You got to cut them off. You got to means test everything. Of course, Nazi Pelosi, we'll have a Queen of Pain update at the top of next hour. Nancy Pelosi says that the sky is literally falling and that Trump is going to starve to death, is going to kill by starvation tens of millions of Americans. Not true, folks, but we'll talk about it when we come back. Performing this show with half my testosterone tied behind my back just to make it fair. An oasis of Constitution and Catholic common sense. Toxic masculinity all rolled in to a Churchill-sized cigar for radio. Floating amongst a sea of despondent, hysterical, angry, ugly, single cat ladies. Mike Churchill and the Crusade Radio Network. This portion of the program brought to you by the Founders Trading Post store at shop.mikechurch.com. That's shop.mikechurch.com. S-H-O-P dot, that's a period, mikechurch.com, in case you have forgotten. Great coffees and cigars and books and my rubs, your cooking rubs. Have you people stopped cooking? When did steaks go out of style? What, Maggie? Maggie said they stopped doing everything. Well, again, the paradigm shift is causing this, I believe. But should you feel like you're ever going to eat a piece of red meat again, get a bottle of Acadiana steak seasoning. It really is that good. And if you ever have the money to buy another chicken thigh again, and you want to season it properly in the best way, Chicken Mamu is the way to go. And if you ever find that you have just enough money to buy a pork butt, or, I mean, really splurge now, a rack of St. Louis-style ribs, beast and butt rub. Yeah, I know. When the economy comes back and people can eat again and aren't eating MREs and bark and shoe leather and what have you, my rubs are great for everything. Get them today. Get the whole trio set at shop.mikechurch.com. And check out the $5 book sale. True story, $5 book sale. All right. Let's go back to the lumberjack question and the recession question and what we're going to do about it. Play the Mike Rowe clip. I think that this encapsulates the whole thing. Because the dude asked Mike Rowe, well, where are all these jobs going to be filled? Let's pretend that Trump brings manufacturing back. Who's going to work in the plants? Good question.
Mike, what's been your message to the people at CPAC here?
We got a skills gap. It's wide. It's big. We got 7.2 million men
beautiful.
who are not participating in the workforce, not looking for work. We got $1.7 trillion in student loans on the books. We got 7.6 million open positions that don't require a 4-year degree. And yet, we keep lending money we don't have to kids who are never going to be able to pay it back to train them for jobs that don't exist anymore. If we want to close the skills gap, we got to make a more persuasive case for millions of good jobs that nobody knows about and nobody understands. These are 6-figure jobs or opportunities that lead straight to a 6-figure career.
True story.
They're everywhere. And if we don't reinvigorate the trades, I'm afraid the president's best efforts to bring manufacturing back to these shores is going to run into a real roadblock. We need an enthused workforce, skilled for the jobs that are out there.
Yeah, well said. As I was telling you, I'm a railroad mechanic. I've been doing that for 25 years. I've been doing side work as an auto mechanic my entire life. I have 4 kids. We own a house. We've been able to live comfortably because of that one skill set of being able to do something mechanically. And
you're not the problem. You should be on a billboard. People should look at your life as an example of what can happen when you master a skill that's in demand and work your ass off. That's still for sale. It's still important. And we have to get in front of that message, and we have to reinvigorate the trades in a way that makes this generation of kids look at careers like the ones you had and go, yeah, damn Skippy, I'd do that.
And these aren't the jobs that are going to be replaced by AI. The plumbers, the electricians, the mechanics, they're not going to be replaced by AI. Yet all these things that people are trading their entire future for, they're all going to be replaced by AI.
You said it, not me, but something tells me your days working on the railroad could not have been done by a robot.
100%. Mike Rowe.
Mike Rowe's just a good job, Mike Rowe. Mike Rowe's a funny guy. You know, he did that show, Dirty Jobs. I used to love that show, especially when he would crack. Who was the guy? It was the sidekick's name? Dave. Remember they'd send him to like the hair wax place, and Mike would go, "You do hair waxing, right? You wax people's mustaches and what have you." And the lady says, "Yeah," and then she describes the job and everything, and then she says, "Would you like to see how it's done?" And then Mike Rowe goes, "Yeah." And we signed. What was his name? They used his last name. We signed Berkman up or whatever his name. We have a volunteer for you. We have Berkman here, and Berkman's like, "Huh? I'm about what?" And come to find out, remember the dude had a bearskin rug for chest hair. And she goes, "Well, where do you want me to wax?" And he goes, "Well, I have a lot of hair on my chest." She goes, "Okay, well, let's do that." Remember, she put the strip across his chest, and she's describing it to Mike Rowe. And then she goes, "Okay, here comes the fun part." And the dude's just laying there, the cameraman guy, the assistant. And she goes, "Okay, hold on, it's going to sting a little bit." And she literally, folks, it's this wide. And there it is right there. Maggie found the video. That's it right there. And look, she's going to, okay, turn the sound up. This is funny. This is
wax. Don't know. Hot enough to rip it
The funniest part is when she rips it off.
It's not wet. It's actually a little bit thin or thicker.
And Mike Rowe is just laughing.
Sure. So you're going to go put it on with the hair. And take it.
Oh, dude, you could never get me to do this.
No, but you're pulling my hair.
Well, that's what
Get
you
used
say
to that,
now.
dude. Oh, God.
So you're going to put a hand here, okay, and kind of give it a little tension.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Hold on.
Well, here goes. Watch.
Breathe in or anything like that?
You can do whatever you like.
Oh, that wasn't so bad.
Okay, that was a nice clean one. See? Wax is pretty good consistency.
He waxed his whole chest. Look at it. Here's the one Mike Rowe does.
This way. Oh. Beautiful. Grab it again. Go on there, right on top of that, and get that. Try and get that, and rub it. Good. Now keep going.
Oh my goodness!
Beautiful.
Look at that.
This area.
This is awesome. No, this is happening.
No.
This is happening.
Okay. Let's go back to the question that Rowe was asking and was talking about. We have a trade and skills gap. Who's out there advertising this? Again, things puzzle me. I'll be your spokesman. I'm your Huckleberry. I'll be your spokesman. Young men, if they were watching me on the YouTube, I'd say, get out from behind the keyboard. You know, it's like the scene in the movie Office Space where at the end of the movie, you know, they go, and Ron Livingston's character is basically picking the trash up from Initech that's been burned down, right? He's got a shovel and a mirror and Michael. Yeah, it'd have been a great name if that no talent A clown until that no talent A clown started winning Grammy. Michael Bolton showed me, hey man, we got jobs right down the street at Penetrode. They're hiring, man. You want to apply? And the dude's like, and Ron Livingston's like, no, man, no, I think I'm good here. You know, 3 squares a day out in the sun, working with my hands. I actually kind of like it. It's a really good soundbite. It's a really good scene. And I think it was Mike Jobs or Mike Judge's point in the movie Office Space. Why are you stuck in this cubicle? Why did we train an entire generation of young men and tell them that that was a good thing to do? I think we're still doing it. As Mike Rowe was saying, why are the universities still filled up? Now, I don't think they're filled up anymore. I think that the gig is up. And I think that enough of them have figured out that this is a scam. And I am not going to become a student loan, a permanent student loan debtor to get my little degree so I can hang it up on the wall in my cubicle. Besides, with DEI, those young men didn't get hired. Asians and women got hired, and other minorities. Didn't matter what that degree said. You know, like I say, AI is going to replace some of this. You know, let me just weigh in on that AI question for just a moment, because that's not completely true. I use AI. You can ask, all right, Ashley, I'm going to rat you out. You can even ask Ashley. Ashley's used ChatGPT now. Ask her. It's a tool. It's a calculator, basically. Before you had calculators, you had to sit there with a pen and a pencil and a piece of paper, and you had to write your formula out, and then you go, okay, 2 times 2, yeah, carry the 1, that's it. You had to do all that, right? This is what AI is basically doing, the menial task that's been created by the digital services industry, if you will. All it's doing is just doing digital stuff. It can't do any manual labor. It can't enhance any manual labor. Manual labor is just said. It's done by a guy named Manuel, and he came in and he went down to Georgia. So all AI can do is enhance what's digital. You still got to live in the real world. You got to go out and find someone to cut the trees down. You know what? That reminds me. Show y'all. I haven't actually put this into use yet, but I'm going to. You know what that is? You know, zoom in on that. That there, Clark, is a 100% fountain pen. Gee, Mike, what are you going to do with that? Well, I'm going to put it on this piece of paper here, and I'm going to write with it. Well, why are you going to do that? Well, they're going to read all my messages now that the Apple encryption program has been cracked, or basically doesn't exist in the UK. So how long before that makes its way over here? And you and I don't have encryption. If I write a letter and I wax seal it and I send it to someone, if someone opens it, they're going to know, because you got to break the seal. It literally means break the seal. I mean, literally, think about this. It was an ingenious security system. It's far better than any digital encryption system ever created. I could see it with my eyes. It's inexpensive. It takes a little bit of skill and learning how to heat the wax at the right temperature and then turn it at the right angle, get it on the paper so the paper doesn't burn. Believe me, I burned a couple of envelopes up. You're going to want to experiment with your wax seal, but it is, and it's cool because in the modern world nobody uses it. So somebody gets a letter, a handwritten letter that's got a wax seal on the back. Dude, that's like Christmas. You know what? If somebody is out there listening and is not a Founders Pass member, if you go today, and I'll do this for everyone that does it, you go today and sign up at crusadechannel.com/offer. Become a paid Founders Pass member. I will write you a letter personally thanking you, and I'll wax seal it with my family crest wax seal, which I have. It's things like that. We need to make it cool again. Sealing things with wax can make it cool again. But Roe's right. Where is the program to encourage? You get a good ad campaign out of this. Put the guy, they were all boasting and bragging about Michael Bay's Super Bowl ad for the Secret Service. You know what I said? I went like, yeah, that's cool. I don't want an ad for government agencies. Why did anyone think that was a good thing? That you use Michael Bay's talent to promote the Secret Service and not the Weyerhaeuser Corporation whacking trees down in the Pacific Northwest? I mean, you could do both, but you didn't get any of the other, did you? Mike Churchill here on the Crusade Radio Network. Got to remind you, Maggie, you had the images, the moving to noon images. Moving to noon Eastern on March the 10th. And the more that we talk about this internally, the more people I tell, and the more that we kind of flesh out what this is going to look like, I think the more excited you will become about it, and the more excited I am about it. Yesterday, for example, I would have been on air, live doing this show, and I would have cut away to Caroline Leavitt during the White House briefing. And then you would have heard in real time, live, the epic smackdown of that NBC News leftard that she completely and totally destroyed in like 30 seconds. It was epic. The question was, what about the people that are suffering, huh? Your little MAGA program and the inflation hasn't worked yet. And people are saying this, that, and she goes, well, I'm not going to sit up here like my predecessor and lie about it. We know that there are people that are out there that are hurting. We know that there are jobs that are left to be filled, and we know that there are jobs that need to be created. That's what we're doing. President Trump is the hardest working guy I've ever seen in my life, and that's what he does every day. But the program has to work, and it's not an instant fix here. So we would have cut away to that. We would have been able to bring that to you, then I could come back and comment on it. Speaking of, wait a minute, do we want to hear, yes, let's just, I think we should do a Nazi Pelosi, Queen of Pain, up. It's time for an update. It's not every day that we get Nazi Pelosi, Winebox Nancy audio. Boy, and it's a good vintage, too. I think this may actually have been bottled wine.
There's a little black cloud on the house today. Bill of Rights are dead like yesterday. There's a deficit of $1 trillion to top. There's a new oil well that she's got to stop. She has stood here before during her speaker's reign with the Constitution
Mike Church Show band
around her brain. I guess she's always hoping she'll drive us insane, 'cause it's her destiny to be the queen of pain. There's a little black cloud on the house today. That's Pelosi there. Bill of Rights are dead like yesterday. Her pain we're scared. There's a deficit of $1 trillion to top. That's Pelosi there.
Mike Church Show Band. This is on the Anthology Collection.
There's a tax cut bill that she's got to stall.
Nice to see that Winebox Nan has no power.
Call me lovers that she must be friend. That's Pelosi there. There's some Gitmo killers that she must defend. Of her pain we're scared. She has stood here before during her speaker's reign, with the Constitution burning around her brain. I guess she's always hoping she'll drive us insane. 'Cause it's her destiny to be the queen of pain. She's a queen on a throne in the people's house. There's a blind man who sees how down these fail out. There's a rich man just texting after he is dead. We're all skeletons begging for a crust of bread.
All right. A Nancy Nazi Winebox Pelosi update today. Winebox took to the floor of the House of Representatives to decry the big, beautiful bill. Actually, I would have voted against it myself. I would have voted no, too, but not for these, the reasons why Winebox Nan voted no. Here she is, along with Maxine Waters, haranguing here on the floor of the House of Representatives. The children. Oh, you mean the ones that you wanted to abort? Oh, you mean the ones that you wanted to take out in the womb? Those children? Are those the ones you're talking about?
Just listen to your constituents. Hear what they have to say about what it means to their physical well-being. Listen to your constituents.
Stop
the numbers
the tape! Why is anyone's physical well-being up for a vote in our precious democracy's lower chamber? I didn't know that members of Congress got votes on whether or not some guy out in Peoria, Illinois, or some single mother in Dallas, Texas, or wherever, whether or not they are rich or poor. Their fiscal integrity is on the line here. So what does that mean? Is it really their fiscal integrity? Or is it the embarrassing fact that they're wards of the state that you created? Roll the tape.
are staggering. By voting for this cruel bill, you are betraying hardworking Americans by raising costs for all those already struggling to make ends meet.
Look, she's doing the wax on, wax
the
off.
cost of living. He didn't. Reduce inflation. He didn't. Indeed, a vote for this budget is a vote against Medicaid.
It's 30 days. He said he's going to stop inflation. He didn't. Is inflation what? Like, is it like a speeding locomotive? What is he, Superman? Superman, able to leap tall buildings with a single bound. Superman who can stop a speeding locomotive. Or is it Super Trump who can stop a speeding locomotive? Not to be outdone. Play the Maxine Waters one. Or we have more of her? She's not done. Oh, let's hear. Wait a minute. I want some more cruel. I want some more cruel.
Ripping away health care from children, people with disabilities, and seniors. And it is a vote against SNAP, as the distinguished chairman indicated, taking food out of the mouths of babies. And you do that with glee.
Yes. That's not what it does. If it did, I would cheer louder. If it actually did that, then I would give you a... Instead, you get a golf clap. No, that was a bogey. Could have had a birdie. If we ended the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, that's a bird. Hell, that might be an eagle. That's a Tiger Woods 5-wood from 260 yards in the hole. What they did yesterday was a Bryson DeChambeau 2-foot putt to save double bogey. Right, Ashley? Gotta talk to my golf fans out there. Seriously, folks. All right, here, you want one better? The one and only Maxine Waters.
We're no Democrats are no on this budget. It is outrageous that you all have the audacity to come here with this budget that harms so many Americans and ask us to support billionaires and think we're going to buy it? You think we're going to support it? Well, you got another thought coming. We ain't doing it.
Man, you got another thought coming. We ain't doing it. It's outrageous. It is an unlikemanship. I am not going to vote for this unlikemanship. This is unlikemanship and it's unlikemany. By the way, 14 billionaires just hijacked $7 trillion, according to them.
And take your baby by the heel. And do the next thing that you
A radio and television show that is a personal affront to the existence of Dan Crenshaw. The Mike Church Show is on the Crusade Radio Network. That's right, Crenshaw, come and get me. You have members of Congress out there now basically threatening that they were in the same room with a certain Tucker Carlson. Crenshaw says he'd kill him with his bare hands. Mike Church Show here on the Crusade Radio Network, 844-527-8723, call-in line telephone number. This portion of the program brought to you by my friends at the 2awatchcompany.com. The number 2, the letter A, 2A, Second Amendment, in other words, 2awatchcompany.com. Check out the POTUS 4547. That's a great, simple, beautiful chronograph. And you can get it with the steel band or the alligator leather band like I have. Check out all the watches. There's the come and get them. There is the Cannonball watch, the 2A watch, there's the Liberty watch, there's so many different designs. They're all really cool. And these are, look, you buy a watch like this is not a Timex. This is not a Seiko. You don't wear this until the fake coating on the plastic on the band goes away. That's a lot of them. That's what they are. You buy a watch like this, it's a classy, very well made chronograph. So you're going to keep it. You're going to keep it in a watch case, like I keep mine. You're going to wear it on certain special occasions, and you're going to love it. And people are going to go like, hey, dude, where'd you get that? Check them out today, 2awatchcompany.com. Use the code CHURCH at checkout. That's 2awatchcompany.com. CHURCH is your code at checkout. Take 10% off, and I'll tell Josh and George that I sent you. So I was just watching Caroline Leavitt talk to Lawrence Jones, and he asked her, was Zelensky going to come to the White House? She goes, I don't know. She goes, he's invited. Whether or not he actually comes or not, we hope he comes. Spoiled brat. So in order to get on the stage with Trump, he had to capitulate. Now, people are making this out like it's all about Zelensky. Why is it all about Zelensky? It ought to all be all about the people of Ukraine. You know, folks, it pains me as your host to know that I am rarefied air on air. War never should have happened. And it certainly shouldn't have happened for the advertised reasons, which are that, well, the evil Russians and their aggression. That's not the story. By the way, Jones also asked Caroline Leavitt, well, do you think that they're still talking to President Putin? Do you think President Trump is going to go to Moscow, like he said, is going to meet with President Putin? And she said, well, Steve Witkoff is in touch daily with the Kremlin. They're talking about this. And yes, the president is serious. He hopes that he gets that he makes a deal with Vladimir Putin and with the Russians. And again, ladies and gentlemen, we should not be at war with the Russian people. Now, look, I don't want to be a Russian. I'm not going to move to Russia. I don't want to be a Slav. The only Slavs I know are pretty miserable people. But look, that's them. It's just the way they're raised, and that's just kind of the culture and the environment they came up in. But I'm happy for them to be Slavs, and I'm happy for them to be Russians, and I'm also happy that you can have trade and commerce with them. I'd rather live in a world where 20,000, or however many they have, 20,000 nuclear warheads have been deactivated. Which, by the way, was the dream of President Reagan. And is also, I mean, I've sat there and I watched Trump say it. When we were talking, what about nuclear arms? What about this? You're shooting. He goes, well, we're going to build nukes, so we should build them here in America. But I don't want any nuclear weapons. And Iran's not getting a nuclear weapon. Nobody's getting a nuclear weapon. We should want no nuclear weapons on Earth. None. There shouldn't be any. We had them. I understand. I'm not a Pollyanna, and I'm not naive. So as long as there are other people that have them, then the threat of mutually assured destruction, whatever. I mean, you think about that. Is that really, that's not a pleasant thought. Dying in a nuclear blast is not my preferred way to go. Ukraine agrees to mineral rights deal with the U.S. This is the Wall Street Journal. Ukraine has agreed to a mineral rights deal with the U.S. that could be finalized as soon as Friday at a White House meeting between Trump and the comedian. People close to the negotiation said the text had now been agreed, and the U.S. had dropped its previous demand for the right to $500 billion. How much is that in American dollars again? $500 billion. We're out $300 billion. Even though we don't Zelensky says he doesn't know where it all went. It left here. I can tell you where it's not. It's a very big deal. It could be $1 trillion deal, Trump told reporters Tuesday. We're spending hundreds of billions of dollars on Ukraine and Russia fighting a war that should never have happened. The signing ceremony would be a personal victory for Zelensky, says the Wall Street Journal, who has been pushing for a face-to-face meeting with Trump, but has instead had to watch as the U.S. opened discussions with Moscow. That's because he's an idiot. He's not a statesman. You know, I was reading something the other day, as a matter of fact. I'm going to come back to that story from yesterday. Here it is. This is former Reagan diplomat Paul Craig Roberts. Everything you need to know about the conflict in Ukraine. And he says, for the hardline American neocons, the Soviet collapse removed the constraint on American unilateralism. But by 2007, it was clear to Russia's President Putin that the promise of a multipolar world was being overridden by a policy of Washington's hegemony. At a Munich security conference, Putin threw down the gauntlet and said that Russia did not accept Washington's rules based on rules-based unipolar world. At that moment, the U.S. NATO went to war against Russia. By the way, since I'm seeing the video right now, how many of you have seen the video of the near crash yesterday at Midway Airport? Is it Midway or O'Hare? It doesn't look like that's O'Hare to me. That looks like Midway to me. Here, Maggie, show it again. There it is, right there. If you haven't seen it, okay, watch. There it is. Watch the plane coming in from the left. See it? And then the Southwest Airlines pilot goes like, what the... literally, WTF. And again, you can see it in slow motion. These pilots were on the ball. This was not ATC that saved those lives. That was the pilots that saw that plane coming and then radioed to ATC and said something about we're going to have to abort. They aborted their landing. Now, the people that were on, it was Midway. I thought it was Midway. The people that were on the plane didn't know that this was happening. They had no idea. You know, I've been on, and I wondered why. Last time when I flew to Boston 2 years ago out of Lafayette, remember that? And when we almost landed, we were coming into the airport at Lafayette, Louisiana, and it was a beautiful blue sky, clear. It was a sunny day, okay? It was sunny. That reminds me, could you find the video? It's everywhere if you search on X, of President Trump greeting those people visiting the White House yesterday. And they had no clue that he was going to do it. He just pops out of a door. It was the first White House tour, and he shows it. In any event, I had this happen to me. How many of you out there in the Crusader Stadium chat room and watching on YouTube and on X.com and on Rumble, you can put this in any respective chat, have ever had like a touch and go. So we're coming in for landing. It's a beautiful day, and I'm looking at Chafalaya Basin to my right, which is a beautiful part of Louisiana. And we're getting over 100 feet, we're 50 feet, we're 25 feet, we're about to land. And then all of a sudden, the pilot guns it. And then we take off again. And I'm like, and everyone is looking around going like, what just happened, dude? What's going on? Now, I didn't even think that maybe there was traffic on the runway that he was trying to avoid. That didn't occur to me. In my flying paranoid mind, I'm thinking like, oh man, I'm on a plane that the landing gear doesn't work on or something like that. And it was never explained. We all were looking at each other.
I wanted to say, well, you almost died, but you're okay now.
Yeah, I almost died. Too close for comfort. I still don't know why. We were getting off when we disembarked the plane. You know, the people like me and the guy who was sitting across from me noticed that usually the captain will open the cabin door, and either he or the co-pilot will kind of stand in the door and say, thanks for flying American or whatever the deal is. They kept that door closed. Captain didn't want, which only fueled my paranoia and my conspiracy theory, because I'm going like, okay, what just did or did not happen? But in any event, that little Learjet plane was just rambling right across that runway. It was going to get crushed by that. There's probably a 737 or an A320. It looked like to me that was going to land. Who knows what happens to the people or to the Southwest Airlines flight? But if I'm to understand, if I'm reading the news on that story yesterday correctly, that was not an air traffic controller aboard. That was the heads-up pilots going like, "Hey man, hey dude, there's somebody crossing the runway, bro," and then they gunned them and they took off. What are you saying? You know something about this?
You asked me for the Trump thing.
Oh, here. Okay, well, here. I was just talking about that. Here's. He just. Watch. Trump at the White House.
Welcome to the White House. What an exciting day today. Is everybody having a good time? There's nothing like the White House, right? No matter where you go. First Lady worked very hard in making it perfect, and I think you're going to really love it. And I heard you were here, and I said, let's stop by and say hello. Maybe someday you'll be here as the president, right? You're going to give them a special tour, okay? Have fun, everybody.
This is the America-hating, poor people despising monster? Right. No, this is the grandpa. He's pointing at a little boy, and he goes, someday everybody having a good time, right? Maybe someday you're going to have a perfect tour. The First Lady laid everything perfect. You're going to have the best tour ever. Maybe someday you're on this side of the rope, right, as president. That's just charming. What's charming, Muffy? I don't know. No, man, that's cool, bruh. And then they erupted into a chant of USA, USA. The only thing that was missing from that commercial was Kid Rock and a case of Bud Light. While we're on the subject of Trump, my point about the ATC and about what happened at Midway is that plane should not have been on that runway. How did it get there? Who's responsible? They have been boasting and bragging for a decade over diversity, equity, and inclusion in the hiring of air traffic controllers. Name your position in the federal monstrosity. And I don't know. Obviously they'll do an investigation. So I don't know. It's all speculation at this point in time.
Apparently the small jet pilot was ignoring ATC.
Okay, so Maggie is telling me that apparently the small plane, jet plane was ignoring ATC, that ATC was saying, hey, what are you doing, dude? So I would imagine there would be serious consequences. And in this instance, the air traffic control would have been right then. But I thought I heard that it was the pilots that spotted the plane. And it was the pilots that avoided at the last minute. Let's go back and talk about the big issue of the day. Again, Congress passed this turkey of a bill yesterday. Here's why Massey voted against it. Now, we can't get to MAGA with current government. You can't have government doing 1/3 of what the American people should be doing. I don't know why this is so difficult. And people need to demand this. You demanded MAGA. You demanded Trump. You went to bat for the guy. You followed him literally to the gates of hell. The American people ought to be up in arms over this. You say, no, you should veto that bill. It's a big, beautiful bill, but it's not the big, beautiful one that you told us we were going. You cannot play Massey, and then I'll comment on it.
Yeah. Can you just talk to us? Are you still?
Please.
No. Is there anything?
They convinced me in there. I'm a no.
Is there?
I'm a no.
Look let me their own numbers. If the Republican plan passes under the rosiest assumptions, which aren't even true, we're going to add $328 billion to the deficit this year. We're going to add $295 billion to the deficit the year after that, and $242 billion to the deficit after that, under the rosiest assumptions. Why would I vote for that?
So are you solidly a no?
Yeah, they convinced me. I was a lean no until this meeting. Now I'm a no.
This no confirmed.
This is
you
a
were
no.
Why? Why?
They're talking points. Look. These are not something I made up. This is the leadership's talking points. It adds $328 billion to the deficit. It adds $295 billion to the deficit the year after that. The only way they get to this magic thing where it's not going to kill our country is 5 years from now, they imagine that 2.5% growth accumulates. And that even right here, they say they're going to cap discretionary spending. You think we're going to cap discretionary spending and then spend at the rate of inflation after that? That has never happened. So their assumptions are wrong, but even if you take their assumptions at face value, they told us in there they're going to increase the deficit in 2025 by $328 billion. And I've been here long enough. I've been here 12 years, so I've seen a 10-year plan or two come all the way to 10 years. Under Boehner, we had these 10-year plans. Under Ryan, we had these 10-year plans. Anything past the third year never happens.
Anything past the third year never happens, and the reason is you can't bind one with Congress, can't bind the next here. So what's going on here? Business as usual. Business as usual. Now, you can have all of the rumble that you have outside of the White House with all the Doge and the USAID and the low-level federal employees and the 6,000 at the IRS and all. And the Department of Education, by the way, there's funding for the Department of Education in that bill. Why? I'm looking at the New York Times story and I'm going like, wait a minute. Why is there a line item? I'll give you the amount. They say, I wasn't planning on talking about, here it is, education and workforce. $330 billion for education and workforce. What in the hell? Literally, W-T. It says it's cut by at least $330 billion. But it spends $722 billion. The instructions could require cuts to nearly half of all spending on programs that the committee can consider there is more opportunity to hit the target than shown in the chart below because student loan programs can be altered. Why is there a question mark at the end of whether or not to continue the Biden illegal, unconstitutional reduction in student loan debt program? Apparently, it's in the bill. A document circulated by the Budget Committee earlier this year noted that a student loan repayment plan created by the Biden regime, known as SAVE, could be ended. Program is on pause. Why is it on pause? Kill it, kill it, kill it. After legal challenges from states and the amount of savings its elimination could generate, $150 billion or more, blah, 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 blah. They made the loans. I got to pay them back. If you read the New York Times story that, supposedly agriculture cut by at least $230 billion. Now, this is over 10 years. That sounds like a lot. That's not today. That's not even this year. The cuts don't even kick in until year 3. SNAP benefit cuts were not part of this plan. Cuts of this magnitude would probably have significant effects on the poor. And other spending cuts by at least $562 billion. That, what you need to understand about this, and what ought to eternally just give you the red you know what. These aren't cuts. These are reductions in the planned increases of said programs. And we know this because they plan to run up a $2.2 trillion budget deficit this year. That's not acceptable. They keep saying, well, Doge is going to do it in Doge. You're not going to get $2 trillion in Doge. And if you do get $2 trillion in Doge, why did Doge have to do it? Why didn't Congress do it? If you do it by statute, it can't be undone. So there's a lot of confusion out there, and this is probably why there's a lot of money that's still on the sidelines, and people don't know what to do because they hear on the first hand $2.2 trillion deficit. Wait a minute, President Trump. You said, but that by definition puts $2.2 trillion of extra bills into the system. By definition, that's what it does. Now, I don't know how you're gonna erase that by a reduction in oil prices or energy prices. I don't think you're gonna get that much. Even if you did, well, that's a wash. Where's the cut? Where is the downsizing? Where is the paradigm shift? Here, Rod Dreher had this, again, I'm going to go back to this piece that I was referencing earlier in Rod Dreher's diary. He's talking about paradigm shift. Some woman named or some dude named Shadi Hamid is right. The main divide in American politics today isn't between liberals and conservative or left and right. It's between those who believe in the system and those who don't. Okay, count me as a don't. And sometimes it really does feel like a matter of belief. It's a visceral divide about whether basic institutions of American life, from the federal bureaucracy and financial markets to academia and the mainstream media, are working or broken. But it's more than a feeling, and it's not entirely new. The irony, of course, is that a billionaire has become the avatar of anti-system sentiment. That is an irony. But this seeming paradox makes more sense when we understand that the new dividing line isn't about wealth per se. It's about one's relationship to institutions. An official at the State Department or a tenure-track professor might not be rich, but they each benefit from the system stability. They inhabit a world where credentials matter. This is how you get an expertocracy, too, by the way. Where professional networks open doors, where the rules make sense, and following them leads to advancement. Here, the fair question is advancement in what? I write this as someone who has benefited from the system too. In some ways, it was designed for people like me, an upwardly mobile, educated, some might say overeducated, child of immigrants who can reasonably be considered a person of color. I am, dare I say it, privileged, and he's of Indian or Asian descent. Well, why is the system rigged, then, to benefit This Shadi Hamid character. Why isn't the system rigged to benefit the dude who's going to go and take the lumberjack job that I was talking about earlier? And again, if you're just joining us, President Trump signs an executive order yesterday saying we're opening up the forest. We're going back to logging. We don't need Canadian logs anymore. You might need Canadian loggers. Young men are going to have to rise to the occasion and to the challenge of re-entering the workforce. There's like 5 million of them on the sidelines. How are we going to get them in the game? I think the point that Maggie is making during the break is correct. You can't say on the one hand, we have Doge, and Doge is getting us all these cuts, and all these people are being laid off, and this agency's on the line, and that one's on the line. And then Congress comes along and passes a spending bill that increases spending. This is completely and totally irreconcilable. I feel like I'm nuts. Like, we're all, okay, well, which is it? Is it the new Doge pre-Franklin Delano Obama Roosevelt? We're going back from whence we came program? Or is it just that, no, these are just, these are cosmetic reductions, cosmetic cuts here. And I keep hearing, and we keep talking about paradigm shift. Well, it seems like in the executive branch that the shift is there. Doesn't seem like it in the legislative branch. And I don't blame people if they are confused for being confused about this, and maybe that is why some people think we're in a recession. This portion of the program brought to you by Capuchin Holy Roast Coffee. Okay, did all of you guys, you stopped cooking, you stopped smoking cigars, and you stopped drinking coffee. That's what our Founders Trading Post sales say for the last 2 weeks. No one's cooking. If they are, they don't like our rubs. No one's smoking cigars. If they are, they're not mine. And no one's drinking coffee anymore. And if they are, it's not ours. Except for Scott Resnick. They stopped reading, too. They stopped what? Reading. Oh, they stopped reading. Yeah, you stopped. Okay. Wow, this is a great accomplishment for the former great customer base of the Founders Trading Post store. You stopped reading, smoking, cooking, and drinking coffee all in the same. It's not even Lent yet. So you gave up eating, you gave up smoking cigars, gave up cooking, and you gave up drinking coffee. That's a hell of a Lent. But you have to begin that next Wednesday, not this Wednesday. So you still have a week left where you can eat and season with good seasonings the King Dude's Trio, the Beast and Butt Rub, and the Chicken Mamu, and the Acadiana Steak. You could use it. You can still drink coffee till next Wednesday, unless you're going to give it up, and maybe you're not. Capuchin Holy Roast is there. I saw 6 bags of Roma from the Abbey Roast brothers. We usually can't keep that stuff in stock. So it's all there. It's in the Founders Trading Post store at shop.mikechurch.com. Plus $5 book special deals. I think I'm going to lower the $5 book special deals. I'm just going to keep dropping them down until maybe we get to a penny. But we're ridding that inventory, and you're going to take it. So we're at $5 for $30 books right now. Shop.mikechurch.com. Remember, we also are doing our February crowdfunding. So a purchase in the store, it's not the same as a donation. The donation has no cost of goods sold, but it still goes a long way, so it's still cool. Shop.mikechurch.com. Play digital media file number 2. Okay, then I'm going to go back to talking about what I was talking about at the top of the last hour here, and the piece that I was reading. That's right, Schaefer. And then we're going to have all these sales on coffee and cigars and rubs and spices and great books, and it's gone. What do you mean? It's gone. It's gone. It's all gone. They quit. Poof. Oh, you have the gold card? Number 2. digital media file, and it's gone. What do you mean? It's all gone. It didn't do. Your store didn't do too well. Poof.
We're going to be doing something else that's going to be very, very good. We're going to be selling a gold card. You have a green card. This is a gold card. We're going to be putting a price on that card of about $5 million, and that's going to give you green card
That's an expensive
privileges
card.
plus. It's going to be a route to citizenship, and wealthy people will be coming into our country by buying this card. They'll be wealthy, and they'll be successful, and they'll be spending a lot of money and paying a lot of taxes and employing a lot of people. And we think it's going to be extremely successful. Never been done before or anything like this, but it's something that we're going to be putting out over the next, would you say 2 weeks, Howard? Do you want to
2
say
weeks.
a couple of words about it?
The president said rather than having this sort of ridiculous EB-5 program, we're going to end the EB-5 program. We're going to replace it with the Trump Gold Card, which is really a green card gold. So they'll be able to pay $5 million to the U.S. government. They'll have to go through vetting, of course. We're going to make sure they're wonderful, world-class global citizens. They can come to America. The president can give them a green card, and they can invest in America, and we can use that money to reduce our deficit. Why do we give out lotteries of green cards? Why do we give out EB-5 for green cards? The President of the United States understands that the right answer is why don't we eliminate the deficit of the United States of America instead?
Well, I don't think the sale of gold cards is going to eliminate the deficit. It's $38 trillion. Now it's going to be $41 trillion. It was 38. Now, thanks to the Zion King, the Zion King, it's going from 37.5 trillion or whatever it was. You can add another $3.2 trillion on top of that this year, or 2.2 trillion. So you're just south of 40 trillion. Trillion here, trillion there. Pretty soon we're talking about real money here. With all due respect, Mr. Lutkin, you can't balance the budget with $5 million trading cards. What? Let's just say for a minute, 1 million millionaires around the world buy the card. Say, all right, I'll take you up on it. Sounds like a great. I can come and go as I please. If I want to stay in America, I can stay in America. 5 million times, okay, say if it was 10 people, that'd be 50 million. So 100, 500 million. What is 5 million times a million? So a million is 6, so add 6, that's what? 25 billion? Do I have that right? Think that would be $25 billion? Is that right? Shafa 13, you're the official calculator of this show. Is it 25 or 250 billion? No, it'd probably be 25 billion. That's not going to erase the debt. Even if it is 250 billion, that's still not going to. That's 10% of what the Zion King just signed you up for. If my number is correct. Shafa 13 is saying you need 700,000 people to, at $5 million each. Well, they said 1 million. I said they think they can sell 1 million of these things. So $1 trillion is 1 million, right? I don't think that's your math. I think you got your 1 0 too heavy there, Shafa 13. I think it's 250 billion, not 25 trillion. But again, why would you have to do it from that? Why do foreigners have to come in and reduce our deficit? Now, look, I'm all for the tariff program because I think it forces the manufacturing back on shore. And I'm all for funding the entirety of the government from getting rid of all income taxes, scrap the whole damn thing. That means a lot of accountants are going to be out of work. H&R Block, sorry, nice having you. Intuit, all of that, all gone. QuickBooks, don't need them anymore. You know what? You think about this. One of the beautiful things about this program. Yeah, Schaefer, I thought that you were off, Schaefer. He says 7 million people would be needed. Well, it may still be doable. Who knows? Think about this. If you didn't have to pay state and federal income taxes, if you live in a state that makes you pay income taxes, If you didn't have to pay federal and state income taxes, would you even bother to run a ledger of your spending? Would you even bother to use Xero is the online, it's the one I use, XERO, or QuickBooks or Quicken, which is I think QuickBooks is the business base and Quicken is the consumer base, or running Peachtree software, or whatever that is, or Account Edge, whatever you got. Would you even bother? What would be the point of running spreadsheets and of categorizing all of your spending, unless you just wanted to see it? If you didn't, here, the question is, the operative question of the hour, if there were no such thing as income tax at the state and federal level, no income taxes, it doesn't exist, would you keep track of your spending like you currently are? Wait a minute, I'm going to put that in that category. Look at a tax deduction on that. I was reading part of the bill there, and they were the guy from the House Ways and Means Committee. The dude was going down the bullet point list. Well, we're going to extend this tax credit and that tax credit. I'm looking at it going like business as usual. Why not just get rid of the whole darn thing? Just be done with it. I don't think most people would keep up with their I think that most people would just go meh. Hey, Mama, how much money we got in the bank? Oh, that much. Yeah, we're good. We're good. Now, if you go, hey, Mom, you got any money? No, what? We're overdrawn. Then you may go like, well, we got to get that calculator out and get that QuickBooks program out and figure out where do we spend all the money. Where is your Tulsi Gabbard clip about the preverts? Oh, it's the last one, 13. I want you all, everyone needs to hear this while we're talking about this. So the DNI, the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, has this, you may have heard the story that there are apparently federal bureaucrats have so much time on their hand and they're so bored out of their mind that they have taken up a profession, practicing acts of perversion while sitting at their government desks at their government computer. Now, you might have thought that, well, don't they know that every keystroke is recorded on their machine? Apparently, they don't care, because they had the pervert DEI king in there previously in the last 4 years. And apparently this is what they were doing, and they're still doing it. Well, they're not doing it anymore.
Good to see you again. Good to see you too. Not so good to see some of these transgender sex chats among the intel officials. What are we going to do about that?
Well, Jesse, what we're going to do has already been done. There are over 100 people from across the intelligence community that contributed to and participated in this, what is really just an egregious violation of trust, what to speak of like basic rules and standards around professionalism. I put out a directive today that they all will be terminated and their security clearances will be revoked. But the thing here, Jesse, is we got to take a step back, because this is just barely scratching the surface. When you see what these people were saying, and thanks to Chris Rufo for putting it all out online, they were brazen in using an NSA platform intended for professional use to conduct this kind of really horrific behavior. And they were brazen in doing this because when was the last time anyone was really held accountable?
Never.
Certainly not over the last 4 years, certainly not over the last 10, maybe 20 years. When we look at some of the biggest violations of the American people's trust in the intelligence community. So today's action in holding these individuals accountable is just the beginning of what we're seeing across the Trump administration, which is carrying out the mandate the American people gave him. Clean house, root out that rot and corruption and weaponization and politicization, so we can start to rebuild that trust in these institutions that are charged with an important mission of serving the American people, ensuring our safety, security, and freedom.
Okay, I'm just gonna go. I'm just gonna go along for the ride, and I'm not gonna challenge the assertion that in the purity of the intelligence agencies and that they're just keeping that they're keeping us safe. Tulsi, what is primarily keeping us safe is the Atlantic and the Pacific. Your primary deterrents to malfeasance from other countries are a pair of oceans. If you want a national security state, you can have one. I don't want one. Like the TV commercial with Patrick Warburton, where it's at a national car rental, and he goes, and then this gets me to my car, directly to my car, and I can pick it up, and I can even just drive away without having to interact with any people, because I don't like people. It prevents me from having to interact with anyone in the intelligence agencies because I don't like intelligence agencies. You can keep them. I think that this is a serious question here, though. How did it become so that you have to have $350 billion in intelligence gathering, and what is it being gathered for? Last time I checked, and this is not a knock on Tulsi Gabbard or on President Trump because they inherited this, but last time I checked, the intelligence agencies, including the FBI, were busy spying on me. They didn't know the whereabouts of the nutcase that tried to kill Trump. How could you not? How is it possible?
Well, now you know why. They were sexting.
How is it possible that Thomas Crooks had no social media footprint and had no contact with anyone? Where did that investigation go, by the way? You're now president of the United States. Don't you want to know? And maybe they're working on this, just not saying it. Don't you want to know what Biden and Garland and Wray and all the rest of them knew, and when did they know it? Don't you want to know what the Secret Service detail that was supposed to be guarding you that fateful day in Butler, Pennsylvania? Don't you want to know all of the messages and everything that was said before that event? I'd want to know. Don't you want to know? Wouldn't you want to know why? They sure as heck know about Mike Church and traditional radical Catholic nutbags out here, supposedly, that are planning an overthrow of the American government, and we weren't. Hell, I never even went to a meeting in the last 5 years. But I was accused of it. We were all accused of it. You know, the Biden regime didn't know where you could go down the list of people that perpetrated all these crimes. They knew nothing about any of this. But you can make a case of the intelligence community. I don't like the intelligence community, and I don't think the intelligence community ought to exist unless we're at war. You know, I was watching the most fascinating. I pick up on weird, stupid stuff. So I'm going to give you a weird, stupid thing. So I'm watching this show from a couple of, I think it's still on, actually, Outlander. So they're in the 4th season now of Outlander, and Cessnick and Jamie are, and by the way, just a word of caution, if you're going to watch this, there is a subplot storyline in it that screams rainbow flag, screams San Francisco crimes. And it just bothers me when it comes on, and I just fast forward through it. And it doesn't do anything for the storyline. But in any event, they're in North Carolina. The Scots have settled in North Carolina. They're at Grandfather Mountain, which I'm going like, okay, well, that's not exactly correct, because Grandfather Mountain's in Virginia. I know, I've been there. So have you. I crossed. Grandfather Mountain is not in North Carolina, it's in Virginia. But they got land from Governor Tryon, who was the royal governor of North Carolina at the time. But they're in North Carolina, and it's 1770. It's 1770. Or 1768. And they go to a play. They go into downtown, I want to say it's Wilmington, North Carolina, and they go to a play, and a very young, tall, handsome former general of the Virginia militia just happens to be there. So Governor Tryon introduces the Frasers to George Washington. Now, of course, she's from the future, so she knows all about it. She can't believe she's actually going to get to meet Washington. This is the little tidbit that I took away from that. You know what Washington was doing in 1768? He was being a farmer. He might have even been doing some survey work. I can tell you what he wasn't doing. He wasn't leading an intelligence agency. He wasn't captaining a militia, although he was a member of one in Virginia. And there was some political intrigue that was going on, but there was no intelligence about it. What exactly, if you're in war, yeah, you got to reconnoiter. Your reconnaissance missions, you want to find out what the enemy is doing. As a matter of fact, if you don't have reconnoitering, if you don't have reconnaissance, you're probably going to lose. Why are we at war? I must have missed the declaration of war. Again, so much of this stuff is, okay, yeah, we got Tulsi in there, great, now dismantle it. Withdraw the troops, bring them home. If you want to have a Navy that's the biggest, baddest Navy in the world, fine, I'm all down with it. It'll help get the cargo from New Orleans to France. I'm all down with it. Do it. Constitution says you shall have and maintain a Navy. I'm cool with it. The rest of the Army and the rest says we're going to have this. We're going to again. We've lost the principle of self-government. Countries that are in a war posture at all times that have standing armies have standing armies because they anticipate that they're going to go to war. Why else would you have a standing army? What do you need a standing army for? Again, you got an ocean, Atlantic, you got an ocean, Pacific here. Who's going to invade? And if there was going to be an invasion, we just talked about the Navy. Don't you have a Navy? If you see my point here, so much of this is just like, it's not well thought out. Again, I hope that there's a paradigm shift because this doesn't make any sense to me. Probably doesn't make any sense to many of you. But now we know why. They weren't guarding Trump. They were busy sexting. And these are trannies. Did she say there was 100? 100 tranny mammies working in the. By the by, again, I'll throw this out there. If you're trans like that and you're a sexual deviant pervert wacko, can't someone from another foreign country use that as leverage against you? Well, you used to be able to. And like, hey, we found out that you are sexual deviant. We'll tell the whole world. If you don't give us information, we'll tell the whole world. Well, nowadays it's like the what? It's just making me like more popular. I'll probably go viral and go ahead and tell them. IRS, they're all worried about Elon Musk having access to all of your credit card information and tax data and what have you. I'm not. IRS contractor leaked information of 405,000 taxpayers. See, argument from earlier, if you didn't have to have it, would you have records of taxes? Proven 100% effective in treating the civilization-killing symptoms of low testosterone. The High T Mike Church Show is on the Crusade Radio Network. Here on a Wisdom Wednesday. This portion of the program brought to you by the Founders Pass Membership Service. All right, I'm going to say this again. Let's try this one more time. I thought this was a pretty cool offer. Maybe I didn't say it loud enough. Maybe people thought I was joking. Maybe people thought I was kidding. As a matter of fact, Mrs. O'Connell, could you grab me a piece of that linen paper that's right there? So I can actually show because they're going, you don't really have linen paper, TKD. Yes, I do. It's in that brown, yeah, that's it right there. You don't actually have linen paper? Sure do. Let me show you this. Speaking of Mike Rowe's dirty jobs, how about a good clean job? Penmanship. My daughter Reagan's always telling me, Dad, you have the prettiest handwriting. I'm like, my handwriting is hideous. What are you talking about?
Please.
This is a piece of linen paper. See the edges? See the decal edges? It's called a decal edge. Very common 150 years ago or 100 years ago. If you can see through the light there, you can see that there is, you can actually see, if you hold it up to the light, you can actually see the linen. It's woven paper. Okay. So this is real. This is not, I didn't make this in Photoshop. This is an actual real piece of linen paper. This is a real fountain point pen. It's a quill pen that's just more convenient. That's all it is. I mean, it's to take the principle of the quill pen and make it convenient by giving you a refillable cartridge or whatever. Okay. If you go today and you sign up and become a cash paying Founders Pass member at crusadechannel.com/offer, I will take this pen and I will write on this piece of paper a personal thank you note, and then I will use the wax sealer down there, and I will seal this in an envelope, and I will hand address the thank you note to you as a personal thank you. That's the offer. You got to do it today. I'm not doing it tomorrow. So if you go right now, crusadechannel.com/offer, and you sign up, we'll see that you signed up. And make sure you fill the address box out in your Founders Pass membership. I will write you a personal thank you note on this linen paper with this fountain pen. True story, real deal. All you got to do is go sign up. So crusadechannel.com/offer. Deal? Oh, I think that that's pretty cool. Maybe people think that that's stupid. I don't know. But it does take time to write it, and you have to know how to use the wax and to seal the actual envelope. So you get a handwritten note on a fountain pen from yours truly. It won't be. I'm not going to Obama you. It's not going to be auto penned. Now my pen is constitutional too, and I will wax seal the envelope with the church family crest in purple sealing wax. I think that's a pretty cool offer. Who else is going to do that? crusadechannel.com/offer is the deal. crusadechannel.com/offer. I want to read this from, because we've been talking about the paradigm shift today and whether or not we're in a recession. I don't think we are. I think that there is a wait and see attitude with a lot of people. I don't blame them for waiting and seeing and to see, okay, is this MAGA thing actually going to work? Is this Trump program actually going to work? Is he really going to make America great again? At the end of his piece yesterday, Dreher wrote this, and this is all about the paradigm shift. The future is not fated. We can change. Maybe that's what's happening in Washington now. I hope so. But I know this. It could not go on as it had been going. The old paradigm is over because at least half the country has lost faith in it. Now, that part is true. Actually, I think the number is probably closer to 70, maybe 2/3 of the American citizens have lost faith in the old method, which is why there ought to be blood boiling over out there over the Zion King is stupid and the big, beautiful budget deal. No one wants the big, beautiful budget deal. No one was clamoring for the IVF thing either. Maybe what's being born now will be worse. I don't know. We'll see, but bring it on. I've had it. Does it describe most of you people? That you're going like, well, I hope that it's a real paradigm shift, change, and I hope that it's going to be better, and I hope, or you hope that it turns things around. What does a turnaround look like, though? You know, I've talked about this over the past 20 years on this show when I used to ask the question, oh, you're a conservative. Yeah, that's great, that's great. Can you tell me, Mr. Levin, what it is that you're trying to conserve? Because to me, the term conservative, there is no conservatism without faith. without Christianity. There just isn't. The further away you get divorced, separated from Christendom, and the Europeans are running. They are sprinting as far away as they can get. They're going to be taken over by people that hate them and are going to kill many of them. And they're destroying what their ancestors bequeathed to them. That almost happened here. I say almost. I'm still not convinced that we have arrested the contagion, but we were almost there. The Biden regime was the fulfillment of the Freemasons and the Franklin Delano Obama plan to make the United States into a communist empire. They're this close. Note how quickly, though, there has been this retreat now from sexual perversions. Maggie was actually me the other day. We were watching something on one of the networks that forces you to watch commercials, and a Doritos commercial came on. And I laughed, and she goes, "What is so funny? Why do you think that commercial is so funny?" Okay, what did I say? What was my response to the question? My response was, it's not that it's that funny. I didn't have to think about it. It didn't challenge me with any stinking rainbow or tranny flags or crap. Didn't make me think about anything DEI. It was just a dude who thought that he was he was working with the SETI program, Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, and he was looking at the SETI program, and he gets a blip on his radar screen. Maybe you could find a commercial, it'd be funny. He gets a blip on his on his SETI radar screen, and it lands in his backyard, and a bright light shines him, and he goes, and he's thinking first contact, but he's got a bag of Doritos in his hand. And the alien uses a tractor beam to try and snag the bag of Doritos. And the dude fights back. And he grabs the bag of Doritos back, and he's willing to be dragged out of his house by the tractor beam. And then the alien, there it is. Okay, here. Yeah, go ahead. Just play. It's funny.
Come on, man!
So he has a bag of the super spicy variety of Doritos. He lets go of the bag. The alien, the flying saucer, sucks it up, and then they eat a chip and they blow up. They explode. And she goes, and I just laughed again. She goes, well, why? It's not that funny. What'd you think is so funny? And I'm like, I didn't have to think about it. All I had to do, all that was required of me was to watch it and laugh. And I wasn't laughing because there was a sex joke. I wasn't laughing because there was any sort of physical and diversity, equity, inclusion crap shoved down my throat. I just thought it was funny that the alien sucked the Doritos bag up into the spaceship and it blew up. I didn't have to think about it. There was another Doritos one where he punches the ET looking thing in the nose to get his bag of Doritos back. Okay, so what's the point? Better church, please. Why are you wasting my time? There's something changed. Again, I've been saying this since November the 6th. Something's changed. And that is things that can be made funny again can just be funny. There doesn't have to be any other point. Or, yeah, they are trying to sell me a bag of FD&C red dye number 5 poison. Because I know that that's coming into the chat room any second now. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. It'll show up. And there's a lot of commercials out there, the new ones, that they're just humorous. They're just funny. What's the Geico one where the oh gosh, we were just watching and I said, okay, that's
He goes, I just wanted something from an alien.
I think I just wanted something from an alien one. It's it's just kind of like it's almost like it's the 80s again, or it's an age where all of that stuff that we were dealing with, and the stuff that makes you roll your eyes, where you go like, oh man, come on, dude. In any event, I just thought I would mention it in passing. 844-527-8723. Let's play a Caroline Levitt before we go to Magdalene for today's political affairs consultant. We played that one. Played the one of Trump in the White House. Played Maxine Waters. Play the one about the Dan Bongino appointment. And now again, there's a clip in here that's really good. And, well, you know what? Just go ahead and play it. Play the one where she talks about new media. Number 8. So this is the discussion where the White House press secretary says, this is not your father's briefing room, and this is not the old administration. We're not playing those games. The legacy media is not all powerful and all high and mighty as it once was. You are. I mean, watch this.
As you all know, for decades, a group of D.C.-based journalists, the White House Correspondents Association, has long dictated which journalists get to ask questions of the President of the United States in these most intimate spaces. Not anymore. I am proud to announce that we are going to give the power back to the people who read your papers, who watch your television shows, and who listen to your radio stations. Moving forward, the White House press pool will be determined by the White House press team. Legacy outlets who have participated in the press pool for decades will still be allowed to join, fear not, but we will also be offering the privilege to well-deserving outlets who have never been allowed to share in this awesome responsibility. Just like we added a new media seat in this briefing room, legacy media outlets who have been here for years will still participate in the pool, but new voices are going to be welcomed in as well. As part of these changes, we will continue the rotation amongst the 5 major television networks to ensure the President's remarks are heard far and wide around this world. We will add additional streaming services which reach different audiences than traditional cable and broadcast. This is the ever-changing landscape of the media in the United States today. We will continue to rotate a print pooler who has the great responsibility of quickly transcribing the President's remarks and disseminating them to the rest of the world. And we will add outlets to the print pool rotation who have long been denied the privilege to partake in this experience, but are committed to covering this White House beat. We will continue to rotate a radio pooler and add other radio hosts who have been denied access, especially local radio hosts who serve as the heartbeat of our country.
What?
And we will add additional outlets and reporters who are well suited to cover the news of the day and ask substantive questions of the President of the United States, depending on the news he is making on that given day.
Pick me! Pick me!
I know a guy.
I know a dude. Now, we're going to put that to the test because I've already applied for White House media credentials. A lot of us have. Jack Posobiec still hasn't gotten his. So, and there are some new people in that briefing room, but I'm going to apply again as the local yokel radio guy. And look, we're going to be on air during the middle of the news-making day. So, usually we recap what happened yesterday during the course of the Mike Church Show, and we'll still do that. But when we move to noon Eastern, well, that's while the news is being made. So we can bring it to you like live as it's happening, and then you get El Jefe Dude's instant commentary and analysis right there. So again, the move takes place on Monday, March the 10th. That's 11 a.m. Central, and that's noon Eastern. And I am working on, I'm working on some very special things for other parts of the day, shall we say. Nothing to give you right now, but something solid is out there that could be very, very cool. Let's go to Magdalene, our political affairs contributor for the Mike Church Show here. Yesterday, Sheldon Whitehouse, it was discovered the senator from Rhode Island, the paranoid nutcase that is Sheldon Whitehouse, has been funding his wife's nonprofit NGO environmentalist wacko group. They got $14 million last year. She got 2.7 of the $1 million. Oh, but that's just a coincidence because everyone gets paid $2.5 million to run a nonprofit environmental climate change group. Right, Magdalene?
Yes, everybody gets that. There's nothing shady about that whatsoever. And I will say that Sheldon is one of those senators who routinely tries to get moderate Republicans on his side, like he did with Brett Kavanaugh and other hearings. And they listen to him because they think he's so ethical. So when this stuff comes out, it's very helpful to us.
Well, this was an appropriation that he voted for. So, you know, the big joke around legislative circles is, why don't we, if you want to make $10 million and you got $1 million, follow Nancy Pelosi's stock trades.
Yes.
Whatever Nancy does, you do. Whatever Nancy doesn't do, you don't do. Whenever Nancy short sell it. Whenever Nancy invest in it. You will get rich quick. And there is actually called something out there that's called, and it's not a joke, they call it the Nancy Index.
And I think that's one of the things Elon's going after. He did a post recently where he laid out the salaries that these people have, her, Obama, Schumer, and their net worth. And there's just no way that it ends up where it is. Maybe the Obamas, you could say they got deals after they left the White House. They got book deals and things, fine. But how does Nancy Pelosi have like $225 million she's admitting to? And this is what the big threat of DOGE is. To me, it's not that they're afraid on the left that they're going to find all this money within agencies. They know that was always an option.
Yep.
They're concerned that when DOGE looks into it, they're going to say, well, this is how Pelosi is a multimillionaire. This is how Schumer is. This is how this is going to happen. If that happens, it breaks down the entire integrity of the Democrat platform.
Well, it will probably be discovered that there are Republicans that partake of it as well. So I wouldn't think that it's just going to be a Democrat thing. Although almost all these ideas are Democrat ideas. And the NGO program, if you've been working in the deep state or near it for any amount of time, and you're a Democrat, you're a millionaire, and there's almost no exceptions. It is the most. Yeah, go ahead.
And it's so odd because we had Marco Rubio still paying off his student loan debt when he was in the Senate, and still having to deal with that. We had Ted Cruz in the same area. And yet Democrat senators like Elizabeth Warren, who have less experience in the private sector, have worked less than Marco or Ted Cruz did, are multimillionaires. So how is that happening? And I think that when they say that Elon Musk has negative approval ratings with the general public, which first of all, I don't believe, but second of all, they don't understand that nobody thinks Elon Musk is just in there cutting back from the budget. We sent him in there by voting for Donald Trump to find out how Elizabeth Warren is worth $100 million.
Well, there is. You're gonna find out, and you're also going to find out. Okay, somebody was posted in the chat room earlier today that Maxine Waters is worth $10 million, and Maggie said, "Well, how did Maxine Waters get $10 million?" I said she got absolutely shafted. Nancy Weinbach's Nan is worth billions. So they must not have taught Maxine Waters to play the game, or she's not playing the same game as Weinbach's Nancy is. But yeah, it is you get into politics. I'm sure there are some people that have good motivations, and I'm also equally sure that there are many, even if they did have good motivations, that ultimately become Sheldon Whitehouses. And again, as I say, anyone that is in Democrat Party politics for any amount of time, there aren't any people that are impoverished. There is no one that is living. Even Bernie Sanders is worth millions. He likes to play a good populist socialist game, but, he is in the pay, and he tries to pass this on. I got all those donations from individuals at those healthcare and pharmaceutical companies. Why is someone that works at a pharmaceutical company in Ohio sending money to you in Vermont to run for the to run for the Senate or to run for the presidency? We all know what's happening here, and of course that Pfizer is giving the money, or whoever gives the money to the individual, and then they give it to make it look like it was an individual contribution. These guys are all on the take, almost all of them. Well, that's not news. There's nothing new here.
No, and the Trump rapid response team is finally calling that out with Bernie Sanders' tour against the oligarchy. They tweeted out, you are literally a multimillionaire with multiple houses. That's the truth. So you know what? If you are a democratic socialist and you live in poverty and you practice what you preach, I still think you're crazy, but okay, fine. Go do that over there. But if you are Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth Warren and you are socialist fighting for the future, and you have a beachfront property, I have an issue with that.
Yeah, and you should have an issue with that. Now, if you got into politics after you made your millions, okay, fine. Well, then we know. When they're all, and Elon Musk is trying to take, do you know the Wall Street Journal had a cover story today, and it was all about America's 14 billionaires.
Yeah.
Well, wait a minute. The Democrats make it sound like there are literally hundreds of thousands of them out there. And Trump and Musk are just funneling. They got a giant money funnel, and they're just funneling money directly to these billionaires. You know, it might do the Trump administration some good to send Caroline Leavitt or to send someone else out there to go like, okay, when they accuse us of this this is for the billionaires and that's for the billionaires, here is the list of American billionaires. It's not very long.
No, it's not very long. And also, I think one of the problems Democrats have is that people want to be billionaires. Nobody doesn't want to be a billionaire. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. So when you slam Donald Trump and Elon Musk, the two biggest role models aside from Pete Hegseth, to young men of all races in this country, do you think you endear them? Someone like Dave McCormick, the new senator from Pennsylvania, made money in the private sector. We know why he's wealthy. And yet he's still doing more for working class people than someone like Elizabeth Warren, who greatly enriched herself. I've lived in Massachusetts. The amount of taxes, you get taxed if you go outside.
Yep.
This woman has never tried to make it easy for anyone in Massachusetts if she sides with those taxation laws. She's over $100 million. Where did it come from?
Well, Massachusetts is also going to find out quickly that their federal bailout money is going to be gone because Trump administration is going to withhold it. All right, that's all the time that we have for today, Magdalene. Thank you very much. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Folks, again, I'm going to make the offer, linen paper, fountain pen, personal thank you note, wax sealed, mailed, via snail mail to you. Become a Founders Pass member, shop.mikechurch.com. I'm sorry, crusadechannel.com/offer. When news breaks out, we will break in here on the Crusade Radio Network. Thanks for watching and thanks for listening today. If you haven't subscribed to the YouTube or the Rumble channel, please do so today. See you tomorrow. God bless you and Mary keep you.